Okay, and we're up. This is the OSRA Daily Scrum for Friday, December 5th, 2014. Here we have Amjad, Brian, and Craig, and myself. Brian, you have an interesting story to tell us. Why don't we start with you?
Okay, so someone was contacted by the client and found a critical error that all the orphans imported from a spreadsheet, aside from the first one, had duplicate OSRA numbers. So I tracked down what I thought was the cause and submitted a pull request, and there was a little bit of confusion about one small piece of it, and investigating that piece led into a whole entire huge ordeal and figuring out that it was the gem that wasn't working, and then trying to figure out what was wrong with the gem, realized that we weren't using the right version because it had already been fixed. So that's taken care of, and then there was a couple more stories. OSRA 208 I redid, submitted for code review again. OSRA 262 I'm still working on. That's kind of got pushed aside a little bit by 208 and 273. And then I did a little tiny bit on another project, which is related to OSRA 178, which is already done. So I was
What's
working on a whole bunch of stuff.
what's 178? Oh, here.
Ordering
Right.
the clear filters button.
And when do we have your start and end date, guys?
Start and end date I redid and submitted for review again this morning.
And who is reviewing it?
Craig and I have been. I've looked at the new code, Brian, and basically I'm trying to decide if it's just a difference of styles, or if there is something that really isn't sitting right with me for good reasons, or I'm just unnecessarily opinionated there. I think the changes that you've made, the ones that you pushed this morning, I think that they took it a significant way in the right direction. But there's just a couple of lines in there that I'm looking at that I'm like I said, they just don't sit right for me, and I'm trying to understand if it's just a difference of opinions or there is something more substantial there. We can talk about it after the scrum, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was general things or specific things.
More specific, I suppose.
Okay, well that should be after the scrum then.
Yeah. Okay, Craig, let's go to you.
I've not had a chance to do much today. It's been hectic on the work front. I need to have another. I put up a file that indexed OSRA numbers so that we couldn't duplicate them. But on Brian's original pull request, that was failing. But if he's updated the gem and it's a gem issue, I shall try against that and see if we can get it working.
All right. And I guess the other big thing that's still waiting is this updating the orphan importer, and that's waiting on me to finish code review, I suppose. Although I thought there were a couple of comments in there that we either need to talk about or I don't know, you need to tell me that, I don't know, my reasoning was off or something. Because I didn't see everything that I mentioned. I don't think everything was, I
I'll
don't
have
think you
another look.
responded to everything.
I might have missed a round.
All right. Okay. I guess I'll go next. I spent a bit of time today looking at the same issue that Brian had referred to earlier, the duplication of OSRA numbers that were being assigned on import. But Brian's got it working now, so that's all done. I reached out to the client and asked them if they want to schedule a meeting for Sunday at 20:30 UTC as per our regular schedule. And the other thing is, that's why it wasn't showing up. I'm working on this, OSRA 276, so this is something else that the client has requested, that each orphan list is validated, that it doesn't contain any duplicate records. So I'm putting those validations into the importer right now. And then when I have the time, I guess I need to go back to code review. And I've also pushed, what did I do? I pushed our current develop branch to staging. So first of all, the gem that Brian referred to, the sequence gem, is now updated on the staging server, so they shouldn't be seeing those errors. And I actually need to notify the client about that the fix is in, and they can test it. And I also, because that push also contains the change from the Unicorn server to Passenger, I also want to push it to production, because that's where we have New Relic enabled. And then I'll try to sort of stress test production a little bit and make sure that we don't get those out-of-memory errors anymore. And that's it for me. Amjad, do you want to say anything?
What do you think our chances to finish start and end date? Totally.
Start and end date? I think it depends on, I guess, how Brian and I are able to resolve our differences. Like I said, I'm looking at the code, and I'm trying to understand if things are different just because, different coding styles, or there is something else. And basically, if I realize that I'm being, I don't know, overly picky, I mean, functionality is there. It can be merged right now, and everything is working. So I think we can get it done, well, sometime tomorrow for sure. The bigger stumbling block, I think, is the importer refactoring, because I would estimate I'm about halfway through with code review on that pull request, and it is a pretty significant pull request. It takes me quite a bit of time to sit down and kind of wrap my head around everything that's in there. So, excuse me. So that story depends on whether I can find the time to do the code review, and then whether Craig can find the time to address the things that if I find anything.
Okay.
So is the orphan importer, is that holding up the production server?
Well, nothing. We can go to production. We can deploy to the production server right now, but the client doesn't want to use the application unless 264.208.221 are finished. And I don't want to go to production unless 274 is resolved. And I think it should be, but like I said, I need to test the server to make sure that it doesn't run out of memory. So I think this is taken care of. But these are the stories that I flagged. They need to be done before phase 0 is complete. So I think the best case scenario is that at the client meeting we can show them the finished MVP for phase 0.
So
But,
on
yeah.
the 274, the Heroku server running out of memory, has that just been tested with very small amounts of data, or have you ran seeds with a couple thousand orphans and whatnot?
I've tested it with uploading one right after the other, let's say 3 files with 3 records in each of them, and it began running out of memory. So it didn't even take that much stress.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. The other solution, or possibly not the other, but a parallel solution that we do at the same time, is Motosim already suggested it. If we can upgrade the Heroku whatever service, and so go to one of the paid plans, see if the client is willing to pay for essentially for more RAM at this point. That's what we need.
And what do they give us, 512?
Yeah.
So could we just turn our virtual machine down to 512 and test it locally much faster?
You won't run a virtual machine with 512.
You could run the same machine they're running.
Well, yeah, but
There won't be a GUI, but...
No, that's fine, but you just have to be you'll have to install an instance of the production server, because something like Phantom.js if you do that, you need to make sure that you're doing a production install, bundle install production.
Well, you can give it a go, Brian, by all means.
The Rails one has been pretty taxing, especially stopping and working on all the other ones. So I was just suggesting maybe it could be a possibility. The 262 one is rather large. But the good news about the 262 one is that darn near all of it is going to be reusable. There's just small pieces of it that are specific to partners.
Right. Yeah, because you're building that sort of parent controller for everything, right?
Effectively, it's building the whole application. Yeah, it's just minus a couple of controllers and views. But yeah.
Okay. Just for the record, the largest orphan list that I've tried uploading had 15 records in it. I haven't gone anywhere beyond that yet, but like I said, I really didn't have to. I don't know what's the real world usage case is, how big these files are, how many records they contain.
So when it runs out of memory, do you get a 500 server error, or does it crash, or does it come back up, or does it just get slow?
Immediately what happens is it just spits out a generic error that doesn't tell, well, it doesn't tell the user anything, but you can go into the logs.
The 500 error?
Actually, there isn't a 500 error. There's a specific Heroku error R14 that is out of
Oh.
memory. I think what it does is it basically just kills the process. You know what? I don't recall. I don't think it returns anything meaningful to the application, basically.
Well, so effectively, I guess that's not the main point. The main point is, does it require developer action to restart?
For the time being, yes.
Okay.
There are apparently gems or scripts that can do it automatically. Restart the dyno if it starts running out of memory. But you know, either way, it's not a perfect solution. But for now, yeah, it runs out of memory, and the out of memory error persists at least for some time. I've never sat and waited to see if it ever goes away. And when it's in that out of memory state, sometimes it functions and sometimes it doesn't. It will render simple views, but it won't do anything more complex.
So I guess that's related to something else then. So are we gonna, like, for example, pagination? We can use a gem and do it easier, or it might not be that hard just to build it. Pagination's rather simple. Honestly, the filters are more complicated. So is using more gems for things like that, is that going to be something that we need to try to avoid, or if it makes the code better, then should we do that? You know, related to this out of RAM thing.
Do you get a list of what's using what memory, Nick? No.
Not as such, no.
I have a feeling active admin is a hog. So that's like out distantly on the horizon, something. But as far as more near-term things, I was wondering, you know, if I should try to avoid adding another gem.
You know what? I will admit right off the bat that my understanding of this is very rudimentary, but a gem is code, and what you write is code. If you think that the code that you write is more efficient in terms of memory usage than what the gem has, then yes. But I would strongly suspect that in the case, at least of well-tested, well-established gems, that won't be the case. That they're fairly well optimized for memory
Well,
use.
that depends on whether presumably the gem's using metaprogramming or not. I would have thought metaprogramming would, as a rule, use more memory.
Well, I agree with that, but it could also depend on other things too, such as some gems are extremely flexible and you're only using a tiny fraction of what they can do, whereas other gems like the sequencer, they're very tiny and you're using 100% of their capabilities effectively.
Yeah.
So some gems can be like that and some might not. Like the sequencer, there's probably no wasted resources, probably, because I looked at it earlier. It's extremely slim. But other gems that are designed to do a whole bunch of stuff that you're not using them for might be different than that.
Yeah. Well, I think these are going to be decisions that we make on the gem per gem basis. Something, if we're talking about pagination specifically, I think the will paginate gem is, you know, it's very focused on pagination. So I'm not sure how much of it is going to be overhead. And, you know, even active admin, on the one hand, yeah, it's a heavyweight memory hog most likely, but on the other hand, we're actually, you know, we've run out of the things that active admin can do, and we're kind of building on top of it now ourselves. I don't know. I don't have a clear answer for that. And like I said, I think it's going to come down to, if you want to introduce active admin just because you would like the form styling that it does, then the answer is probably we shouldn't do that. But otherwise, yeah. Okay.
Okay. See you on Sunday.
Yeah, I think so.
America Scrum. Who is Amjad? He's fast.
He was earlier. Amjad, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. And this is the first time I attend this Scrum.
Oh.
So totally I have no knowledge about the project. Just to learn, I'm joining in this Scrum.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And do you have any questions at this point, or you're just getting your feet wet?
Actually, I am new in the PairProgramming, so I have no concept about this project. For this time, I am only hearing. So I'll join the next meeting. So today I have no feedback. Actually.
Okay.
Cool.
So we'll probably have a client meeting on Sunday night. You can watch our Slack channel to see when it starts, but otherwise our regular scrums will come back on Monday night at this time.
Okay.
Okay, guys. See you then.
Hang on. I've got a couple of questions to ask. I want to cut to the chase quite quickly. So we're closing the sprint tonight, yes?
No. We're closing the sprint after client meeting on demo.
We've usually done it, Mondays or Tuesdays?
Yes.
I thought Friday was usually our D-Day for sprint closing, but...
No, correct.
Okay, and then we've got one more sprint after that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, no, there will be another fortnight sprint after that, won't there?
We don't know. Actually, we should go into production, and if we have what to do in the next sprint, we can create it. If we will decide that it is better to give our clients some time to get used to the application, and after that make sprint, we can postpone it.
Okay, well, regardless, there's 2 weeks. Say we close the sprint Monday, that's the 8th, right? Mm-hmm. And then another sprint, or whatever we want to call it, another 2 weeks after that takes us into basically just before Christmas.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be taking Christmas off to spend with the family. I guess that's what I'm driving at.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of next sprint.
Yeah, I don't mind another sprint, but after that, what depending on whether it's a Friday or a Monday, it's going to be like the 19th, 22nd of December, and then you basically got a week over Christmas, and then the week into New Year, and I won't be around. I mean, I'll be around, but not at the same level.
Yeah, I think my availability is going to drop off too over that period.
So I'm not being funny. I just want to make it clear now so everyone understands, rather than it be a surprise. And so we can bear that in mind as we're preparing what we need to do to get stuff ready for the client.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think it's just the same for me. After the last 3 days of New Year and of Old Year, and next week is usually the same too. So, okay. Next sprint, and then time
vacation.
off. Yep, vacation. Okay, great. Okay, see you guys then tomorrow on America Scrum or on Sunday.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.